Story 1. The Shadow in the Basement. A suburban house, evening. Rain pelts the windows as thunder rumbles in the distance. The basement door creaks open, and the teenager hesitates, their flashlight trembling. 1. The flashlight beam dances over cobwebs, stacks of forgotten boxes, and an old boiler. 2. As they descend the wooden stairs, the creaks echo unnaturally, blending into low, guttural whispers. 3. The shadow first appears subtly, a vague, elongated form that shifts behind shelves. 4. The teen retrieves the box but feels a sudden cold breath on their neck. 4. They turn to see a tall, twisted shadow with glowing eyes reaching toward them. The flashlight flickers and dies as the screen plunges into darkness, leaving only the sound of the teen's scream. Story 2. The Haunted Playground. A foggy, abandoned playground under a blood-red moon. The swing chains creak as if an unseen force is pushing them. 1. 3 teens explore the playground on a dare. 1. They joke nervously, but their laughter fades as the fog thickens. 2. A carousel spins on its own, the faint outline of a ghostly child sitting atop it. 3. One teen slides down the slide, emerging pale and trembling. 3. Someone pushed me, they stammer. 4. The fog coalesces into several translucent children with empty, glowing eyes. 4. The teens run, but the fog follows, whispering their names. The last shot is of the playground, now empty, except for the ghostly children sitting in a perfect circle, giggling eerily. Story 3. The Silent Passenger. A taxi driving through an endless stretch of foggy highway at night. The headlights barely cut through the mist. 1. The driver glances in the rearview mirror and notices a shadowy figure seated in the back. 1. The figure is motionless, its features obscured. 2. When the driver speaks, there's no response. 2. He looks back, and the seat is empty. 3. As the driver returns his gaze to the road, the figure is standing in front of the car, its face pale and hollow. 4. The driver swerves to avoid hitting it, but the figure reappears inside the car, now sitting in the passenger seat. The screen cuts to black as the driver's scream echoes, followed by the sound of a car crash. Story 4. The Creepy Doll. A small, dimly lit child's bedroom filled with toys. The porcelain doll sits upright on a high shelf, its cracked face frozen in an eerie smile. 1. The child plays on the floor, unaware as the doll's head tilts slightly, its eyes following their movements. 2. At night, the child hears faint giggles and whispers. 2. The camera pans to the doll, now sitting on the bed, its hand raised as if waving. 3. The doll's mouth moves, though no sound comes out. 3. A faint shadow creeps from it, growing larger as it envelops the room. The child's scream pierces the air, and the doll's empty eyes fill the screen before it shatters into darkness. Story 5. The Forest Lurker. A dense forest at twilight, with unnatural stillness. 1. A group of hikers strays from the trail, laughing about ghost stories until they hear faint snapping twigs behind them. 2. The laughter fades as the noises grow closer, accompanied by guttural breathing. As the hikers run, the creature appears ahead of them, moving impossibly fast. The screen fades to black with the sound of their screams and the creature's chilling growl. Story 6. The Hospital Ghost. A deserted hospital wing, its fluorescent lights flickering erratically. 1. A night shift janitor cleans the hall, unaware of the pale figure in a hospital gown following behind them. 2. The figure's face is obscured, its movements jerky. 2. Doors slam shut, and the janitor's flashlight begins to malfunction. The camera pans to the janitor's dropped flashlight as a long, drawn-out scream echoes through the empty hallways. Story 24. The Endless Hallway. A man walks cautiously down the hallway, opening doors that lead to identical hallways. 2. The walls begin to warp subtly, with faces pressing out from within, whispering unintelligibly. 3. The man's footsteps echo unnaturally, as if the space is expanding infinitely. 4. The man finally reaches a door marked, Exit, only to step into an abyss. The hallway fades to silence, leaving only the distant sound of whispers. Closing scene. 1. The journal snaps shut, and the camera pulls back to reveal a room full of old, forgotten items. 2. Shadows move unnaturally, and a ghostly hand pushes the journal off the desk. 3. The camera fades out with the sound of faint, sinister laughter. Story 7. The Mirror's Secret. A dimly lit antique store with old mirrors lining the walls. 1. A young woman tries on a necklace in front of a large, ornate mirror. 2. She notices that her reflection isn't following her movements precisely. 2. The reflection tilts its head and smiles unnaturally. The woman turns back to see her reflection staring out of the mirror, screaming silently as it shatters. Story 8. The Ghost in the Attic, an old farmhouse. Moonlight streams through cracked windows. 1. A man hears thudding noises from the attic and decides to investigate with a lantern. 2. As he climbs, the camera pans to faint movement in the shadows behind him. A spectral figure, with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth, appears in the rocking chair, lunging toward the camera as the scene fades to black. Story 9. The Phantom Train. A desolate railway station at midnight, shrouded in thick fog. A lone man waits for a train, hearing faint whistles in the distance. 1. A ghostly train arrives, its windows showing shadowy passengers with sunken, eyeless faces. 2. The train disappears into the fog, leaving the empty platform behind, except for the man's abandoned suitcase. A traveler checks into room 616. 1. The hallway stretches unnaturally long as they walk toward the door. 2. Inside, the room looks normal but feels off. Reflections in the mirror are delayed, and whispers come from the closet. The traveler flees, but the hallway keeps looping, trapping them as ghostly figures close in. Story 11. The River Monster. A serene river surrounded by dense woods, lit by the glow of the moon. 1. A fisherman rows his boat, dropping his net into the water. 2. Something tugs violently at the net. 2. When he pulls it up, it's empty except for a single skeletal hand. The creature pulls the man underwater as the river grows still, leaving the empty boat adrift. 1. A woman lies in bed, her eyes wide open, unable to move. 2. A shadow creeps along the ceiling, slowly taking the form of a gnarled figure with elongated fingers. The woman finally screams as the figure disappears, leaving her gasping in the now silent room. Story 13. The Graveyard Shift. An empty convenience store at 3 a.m. 1. A cashier notices strange customers, pale, lifeless individuals who don't speak but stare blankly. The cashier turns to see a pale customer with hollow eyes standing right behind them before the lights flicker and go out. Story 14. The House in the Woods. A dilapidated house deep in a forest. 1. A group of friends stumbles upon the house while hiking and decides to explore. 2. Inside, they find a room filled with old photographs of people, their faces scratched out. The group runs outside, but the forest is gone, replaced by an endless dark void. Story 15. The Creature in the Closet. A child's bedroom with a large, old wooden closet. 1. The child hears scratching noises from the closet and hides under the covers. 2. The closet door creaks open slowly, revealing glowing red eyes in the darkness. The creature lunges at the bed, and the scene cuts to black as the child screams. Story 16. The Whistling Man. A foggy suburban street late at night. 1. A man walking home hears faint whistling behind him. 1. He turns, but no one is there. 2. The whistling grows louder, and a shadowy figure appears in the distance, slowly approaching. The figure finally appears inches from the man's face, its mouth wide open but silent. Story 17. The Lighthouse Keeper. A lonely lighthouse surrounded by crashing waves during a storm. 1. The keeper notices strange lights in the sea, which form ghostly shapes. 2. The shapes float toward the lighthouse, their faces twisted and screaming silently. The door bursts open, revealing the ghostly figures engulfing the keeper in a blinding flash of light. Story 18. The phantom hitchhiker, a dark highway surrounded by dense woods. 1. A driver picks up a hitchhiker who speaks softly, their face obscured by a hood. 2. The driver glances over to find the hitchhiker has vanished, leaving only a wet, muddy seat. The screen cuts to black as the car veers off the road. Story 19. The Library Spirit, an old, dusty library after hours. 1. A student working late hears faint whispers and sees books falling off shelves. 2. A ghostly figure dressed in Victorian clothing appears, pointing at an open book. The figure screams silently, and the lights go out as the student's flashlight reveals blood dripping from the shelves. Story 20. The Poltergeist, a suburban home at night. 1. Furniture moves on its own, and lights flicker violently. 2. A woman is dragged across the floor by an unseen force, her nails scratching the wood. The woman disappears into the shadows, leaving the room eerily still. Story 21. The Possessed Painting, a museum gallery with dim lighting. 1. A security guard notices that a painting of a woman has changed. The figure now stares directly at him. The guard tries to run but finds himself inside the painting, screaming silently as the camera pans out. Story 22. The Abandoned Carnival, a derelict carnival at dusk, its rides rusting and creaking. 1. A couple explores the grounds and hears faint carnival music. The couple runs, but the clowns surround them, their laughter echoing as the screen fades. Story 23. The Phone Call, a dark apartment, illuminated by a single lamp. 1. A woman receives a call from an unknown number. 1. A distorted voice on the other end says, "I'm right outside." 2. The lights flicker, and a shadowy figure appears in the window. The phone drops as the figure steps inside, and the screen cuts to static.